It came in from a 911 call from a worker of that McDonald's.
That's crazy because, like, people would always smoke weed at the McDonald's near me, and they would never call the cops on anything. Like, I remember there were, like, these home.
Well, there's a difference there. Part of the difference is that I guarantee you at least half, if not the entire McDonald's, except probably the manager, but maybe even the manager, smokes fucking weed. They're not going to call the cops on somebody for smoking weed when they smoke weed themselves. Half the fucking crew, especially the back crew, like probably not the front crew, but the back crew, like people working in the kitchen, building the sandwiches, grilling, that stuff, those guys, probably high the entire time they're at work.
Homeless people that would live at the drive-thru, and they would be like,
I do my
as soon
best.
as you would pull up after you got the food, you'd be like, can I get your change? And I remember, like, the manager came out, like, she had like a broom. She's like, get out of here, Rufus. Go back over to the fucking median. You can't be at the McDonald's anymore. Yes.
Dude, Asmon does have some of the best anecdotes.
In possession of a loaded gun, a gun they believe he printed on a 3D printer. Mangione had
yeah, this is going to be really common, is that all the gun control and everything doing that's going to mean nothing, because people are just going to be able to 3D print guns.
I love that.
Yeah, gun control is just, it's not going to happen. And they're going to be able to do this all around the world too, but
I'm in the libertarian camp when it comes to weapons, man. I think you should be able to do anything you can to protect yourself. Like if you can get your hands on a freaking tank, you should be allowed to have it. Straight up.
The way. So like all the countries where like people aren't able to like own a gun legally, well, they're just going to be able to 3D print a gun. That's it. Where do you get bullets? I don't know. I don't know if you can 3D print that too. I have no idea.
Backpack with them at the time of the arrest. Inside.
Well, I mean, plastic bullets aren't going to do a lot for you. You're going to need metal bullets. Actually, you probably can 3D print metal now. I don't know how good of the technology is at this point, but it probably does exist at least. But like, you don't need to 3D print them. It's not that hard to make a very simple forge. You can forge the actual bullet pieces, and then you can buy the casings and the gunpowder and a gun press, put the weapon or put the bullets together yourself. It's really not even that expensive, not that difficult to do. Or you could just go buy the bullets for the gun, because it's not really also not that hard to just buy bullets. Like the difficult part is getting a hold of guns. Like if you're a felon, you can't get a hold of a gun. You could probably actually buy bullets, I bet. And then like if you need an automatic gun, an untraceable gun, like the bullets don't have VIN numbers on them. Like it's the guns that have the VIN numbers. Like that's the main thing you're worried about is the gun. Just go buy the bullets, really. But if you don't want to buy the bullets, it's also not that hard to make them. Probably aren't going to 3D print them, but you can make them.
It was a handwritten note that they say explained a possible motive, talking all about how he was in severe back pain and talking about the healthcare industry, saying it was a big scam. Also inside was a weapon.
He's right. It is a big scam.
Absolutely.
The Ivy League grad and Maryland native who went to a really expensive prep school and then went to UPenn reportedly mentioned United Healthcare by name. Reading this, they say, parasites had it coming. I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. So some disturbing word there.
I think that's actually one of the most interesting things about the case is the dude actually clearly like has some real morality to him. Like he genuinely believes he's doing the right thing. He genuinely and genuinely is not trying to cause like problems for people. He doesn't want to be a burden or a difficulty to society. But he honestly believed the right thing for him to do was to kill the CEO. Which is a lot more, I think, of a unique position than most people. Like most people that end up, in this kind of scenario anyway. Like most people that end up in this kind of scenario just completely unhinged. They don't give a fuck, or they either don't give a fuck, or or they're just extremely delusional and like they think there's enemies everywhere and fuck most people for the most part. Like, yeah, this guy's he's strangely normal is really what it is. He's strangely normal for a freaking for a murderer.
This is who was killed on your screen. He was a dad of two. He was only 50 years old, in town for work. He worked for United Healthcare for like 2 decades and was shot at least 2 times. In that video, he kind of gets shot in the leg first, then shot right in the chest. He leaves behind a wife and 2 kids. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro making sure people in their community know he was not a hero, this gunman.
In some dark corners, this killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. He is no hero. The real hero in this story.
I don't even understand why I bother saying a statement like that, because anybody who thinks he's a hero is not going to be convinced by you that he's not one. And anybody that's going to be convinced by you does not think he's a hero. Like, useless words right now. This is basically, I'll tell you what this is. This is called virtue signaling. This man is just doing a big old virtue signal. He's just saying, I don't agree with this bullshit. That makes me a good guy. That's really all he's doing right now.
Is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning.
I do think that it's very common that people on the internet have like these like internet vigilante, like revolutionary politics. Average normal people know that it's fucking insane to actually just go out and shoot somebody in cold blood. Like, this is not a normal opinion that real people have. This
True.
is an internet opinion that is held primarily by either children or people with the minds of children.
And even if you think the CEO deserves to die, which, I can see an actual really logical argument for that. I still don't necessarily agree. I'd have to like know a lot more about the person. And it's hard to say anybody deserves to die, even like monsters, though. I mean, at the same time, like, there's definitely some people that I could think of, like PDFs, Pizzagate people. I mean, I'm not. I probably wouldn't pass up an opportunity to get them out of the world. But anyway, I digress. My point being, most people realize even if the CEO deserves to die, you can't have people just going out and assassinating people, like, and taking that into their own hands. Like, that's just not a thing that we can allow as a society. The vast majority of people understand that doesn't work. You can't have that going on.
Sorry.
You're welcome, Tech.
Yeah, chat's retarded. I know. A lot of people are favorable. And here's the thing. It is possible. It's the same thing with the Unabomber. The things that the Unabomber said, some of them I agree with. I do. But I don't agree with blowing people up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really simple. You can agree with some because you're soft. Well, so are you. Everybody thinks that they're going to be a
Great
hard
comeback.
ass whenever they're sitting in their air-conditioned room and nobody is going to target them. Why would somebody not target you? See, you think that you're one of the good ones until somebody else decides you're not, and then they shoot you. You can't live in a world like that. That's insane. Come on. What are we doing? Of course it's bad.
Yeah, I really hate how like a lot of the people that talk tough, they're like, "Oh, you're just soft." The people that say statements like that, generally speaking, are pretty soft themselves. Like, yes, they don't have a personality that makes them come off as obviously soft, the way some people do. They're loud. They're not as afraid of confrontation as the average person. But like, the moment shit got real, the moment somebody put a gun to their head, the moment a big dude came in to try to fucking fight them, like, oh, they're gonna fold like a lawn chair, bro. Absolutely, like they have no real backbone. And so I always find it amusing when people make comments like that. It's just like, stop acting like you're better, bro. You're not. We all know you're not.
Yeah, of course, right? Somebody says, what about the countless policies of the United Healthcare CEO approved, which caused people to be denied that led to direct deaths? Well, I think that if you want to use that logic, that the way that the person behaves and like what they're doing, then you have to take matters into your own hands. You have to kill them. Then I don't really see I don't see there being a large moral difference between that and burning down a building full of people that are making guns. I don't see there being a big moral difference.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no. There actually is a pretty substantial moral difference. I see the point that he's making. And it's actually kind of a valid point, but at the same time, there's absolutely a moral difference. Because okay, so guns, their entire purpose is to kill people. You want to try to sell them, and there's no way you can like really target like, hey, I only want to sell these to the good people. Like you can't like, so you just got to make them widely available. And so I like, there's not really a way for you to take moral accountability for guns. I think you like you can't just not have the like that's why I believe in the Second Amendment. You can't just have like the majority of the population not capable of having guns, because then you just have the people that are capable of having guns just have way too much freaking power. The people that are willing to break the law and get the guns, or have the funds to manufacture their own guns, or whatever the case is. And these people are just going to have too much power over the normal people. You equalize things by letting everybody have guns. So that's a very different story than, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and pass policy that we do not need to have. Our company will run without this policy. It'll make a profit still. It'll do just fine. But I'm going to go ahead and pass policy that I know is going to cost lives and is going to decrease the quality of life of other people, because I need to make more money. There's definitely a serious moral difference there. Like, I get the point that he's making, that killing somebody because they've passed those kind of policies is a very slippery slope, and I would agree. But the particular example he uses is a bad one. Absolutely bad example.
And so as soon as you start saying that the problem isn't that people can be the problem isn't that like it's happening, right? I do think that like people like that should be held accountable. But you can't let an individual person decide what that accountability is. That's the difference. I think that almost everybody here agrees that insurance companies are bad, they're predatory, and they're pieces of shit. I think most people know that, or at least have that opinion, but that doesn't mean that you can kill the people that run them. I mean, it's just that simple. All right, how else then? You work towards democratic change by trying to get people to vote for things that you believe in, and you can change the system democratically. That's the way it works. And also, who says that this other private company has to be accountable to you? This is a private citizen and a private company. The default is that they're not accountable to you. Because what happens if you then become accountable to them? See, these people never think about it when the shoe's on the other foot. If you want other people to be accountable to you, and you're willing to use violence to assert that accountability, then don't be surprised when those people turn around and do the same thing. And they've got a lot more money, and they've got a lot bigger guns. Like, let's be honest. Chat's hypocrisy. It's not hypocrisy. It is short-sighted, childish thinking that a lot of people have, because they never, like, this is an internet viewpoint. If you go out into the real world, nobody is going to think like this or talk like this. This is a total thing. Zach is too naive to think there's a democratic process against lobbies like this. Do you think that they don't count the votes?
He's going to gloss over the fact that we've already done a study on this, and it found out pretty conclusively that in terms of policies that get passed in America, laws that get passed, whether or not a population wants that law passed, seemed to have very little predictiveness to whether or not the law did or did not get passed. What did have a high predictability of whether or not a law got passed was whether or not companies with a vested interest wanted that law to get passed. That had a high predictability. So we've already have a factual study that proves that lobbying overpowers Democratic vote the vast majority of the time. So that's a reality you just have to accept. Now, like we would like to change that. I would love to see somebody come in, us to get enough, grassroots support. We get an administration in that one day, overturns the entire lobbying system and just makes lobbying illegal. That would be great. Abolish or and heavily reduce or abolish or heavily defund and downsize the IRS. On top of that, and you're going to fix the vast majority of problems because you're just going to take out so much of the monetary corruption in the system, and that's where the majority of the problems stem from. But yeah, you can't just be like, oh no, democratic process clearly works. Like, you think they don't count? Like, come on, man, let's be a little bit more realistic. The average person doesn't get to vote on every bill. They vote on representatives, and then representatives tend not to do things in the interest of the people that are elected them. They do things in the interest of the people who pay them, the lobbyists. This is easily established fact. And not only is there, like I said, a great already now lost the word for it, a great study that was done to prove this, but also like it's just obvious. Like, if you know how the system works at all, clearly that's what's going on.
Yeah, I remember he said he had a back issue and he was hoping to get stronger in Hawaii. It also weighed on him that he knew that there was an impending surgery.
So we're wondering, is that what caused him to snap? Was he in so much pain? But now he's going to be sleeping on a bed in a prison.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you would be surprised at the level of psychological damage that comes with constant, like legitimately constant, severe physical pain. Like, that wears on your mind over time pretty majorly. If he was actually in serious pain, I mean, having to stay on painkillers, even if you're like suppressing the pain, like with painkillers, the painkillers like keep you fucked up, and that does a decent bit of psychological damage, I think, too. Not as much as the pain itself will do, but it's just not freaking healthy for your mind either. And then, you can have it to where, like, you build up a tolerance to it because the pain is so high, you take so much of it. And you build up tolerance and you're on more and more of it, and then that becomes a crazy, downward spiral thing. Yeah. Depending on what this guy's exact situation is, like, you could be really driven to some pretty crazy extremes just by virtue of you're in constant pain.
He did like the Unabomber. He rated the Unabomber's book a 4 out of 5. So that's pretty good. I gotta say that like, not a fan of the whole shooting people thing, but everything besides that, I gotta say I kind of agree with Luigi on a lot of it. I feel like I'd probably get along with him.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Be real. He seemed like a pretty reasonable, thoughtful guy. Don't know what to say. The killer? Well, I mean, that's bad. For sure, that's bad. But I'm talking about besides that. Yeah. Suck one dick. Yeah. You read 100 books, you shoot one CEO, you're not a book reader, you're a CEO killer. There
Facts.
you go.
Facts.
Well, what about the 100 books? Was I killing him? Yeah, I guess so, right? And holy fuck. And IGN gave him a 6 out of 10 before any of this began. Yeah, I guess so. And Spitty's kind of person actually had a chance to make a change and he fumbled it. That's some Hassan interviewing terrorist type take.
I don't know how much he really had the potential to make a change. Got to see a lot of like, oh, he had radical new ideas that would have changed things, or like he was gonna become a like an impactful leader in some way or anything. Like, I mean, maybe he would have improved society and in a pretty relatively normal way, like where like any engineer is a benefit to society. I mean, any productive member of society is a benefit to society, but like, I mean, the statement implies that we're talking about like him actually like being a real catalyst for change, and I don't see any indication that was likely to happen.
I think that it's incredibly interesting how people think that terrorists aren't people. I think that a lot of the guys in ISIS, if how many people do you think in ISIS would have grown up and joined ISIS if they didn't spend their entire youth having a foreign power occupying their country?
That's a solid point.
I think the answer to that is less.
A lot less, actually, I would say.
I think less. That doesn't mean that it's good to be in ISIS. But if you can't reverse engineer why a person does something bad, you can never stop the action from occurring.
That is a super, super salient point. Absolutely. You need to try to understand people. And that's kind of the point I was making earlier. You need to try to understand people that are, that go off the rails, so to speak, that do great wrong, so that you can understand how it can be prevented, how you can stop the kind of, systemic situations that cause it, how to stop the, how to notice the signs earlier in people, and, maybe get them like mental health needed, mental help that they need. Mental health help is actually what I was trying to say. There are definitely ways that maybe you can't stop all of it, but you can definitely lower the rate at which these things happen. Definitely stop a lot more of it if you can understand it. And if you can't understand it, like you're not ever going to really change the frequency of its occurrence at all.
Because you don't know where it's coming from. So if you can't understand the problem, you can't solve it.
Facts.
It's way less? Yeah, it's that simple. It's a system's fault. Yeah, there are a lot of systems that are really bad. And I hope honestly, maybe this make people open their eyes and see and realize like how bad the healthcare system is. But I don't really think that it will, personally. I don't think so at all. So free healthcare in
Probably
America?
not.
Well, it wouldn't be free. It would just be paid for with taxes. That's my viewpoint. It would be paid for with taxes. It's simple. Your logic fallacy remains. The only way we can let justice take care of itself is to require you to think that justice treats everyone equally regardless of class. But because nothing is perfect, that doesn't mean for you to just advocate for a more imperfect solution that's convenient for you. Of course, the world is not perfect. However, it's probably more perfect than a random person's judgment.
That's absolutely true. It's definitely true. And this is what's meant, by the way, I'm going to go there with it. This is what Jordan Peterson means when he says, clean your own room before criticizing others, or however the statement exactly goes. Yep, this is the whole clean your own room thing. You probably don't know better. Until you've actually got some practice fixing your own life, don't think that you know how to fix all of society. Like, this is basic common sense shit. It's like such a duh thing. The fact that people really struggle with the concept baffles me. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you liked the video, drop a like below. And maybe consider subscribing, because there's going to be more to come, and it's only going to get better from here. Okay, bye.
Suck one dick. Yeah. You read 100. You read 100 books. You shoot one CEO. You're not a book reader. You're a CEO killer.